Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Jack. All right. You got this stuff?
Yeah, all cleaned and oiled.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's get it on.
Who are these guys?
It's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
Live from Springfield, Missouri, the one, the only, he's Bud Green.
Excuse me. Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White? Woo, 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 woo. Okay.
Hello.
It's my Arsenio Hall moment.
I was fixing to say, man, when did we get on Arsenio? What the hell?
Well, if you were back on television, I'd be all about that. But, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I love Arsenio.
After the second attempt didn't go so well, I guess he's done. So,
Yeah.
most unfortunate. How are you? And how is everyone else out there?
Doing fantastic, man.
Yep.
So glad you're back doing this because I really missed that can't you see we talking white moment? I love that friggin' clip. It's so great. It really
Wow.
is.
I gotta say, man, I mean, there is nothing like doing this. You know, I have way too much fun doing this.
That's it.
And getting a chance to hang out with you and John and Martin and even Gary. Yeah, it's just this is just great. This is just great. And today's topic, I got to give all credit to Big John because, man, you came up with this one. I think you knocked this one out of the park, man.
Yeah, I'm a big disaster movie nut, so.
I'm not as big as John, but I love them. I think they're great. I really, dude, I collected, I mean, some of the soundtracks I had when I was a kid. I had the soundtrack to Earthquake, Airport 75. I mean, I had a bunch of them. I love the music in them. I thought they were awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, that was back when we couldn't see them at home, you know.
Yes.
The memories you had from the theater were, that's why soundtracks were big back when I was a kid, man.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how you relived the movie, you know.
I collected a lot of soundtracks, and when I wasn't trying to record stuff off of the television, but I don't think I was the only one that did that. So,
No. Oh. Remember those guys that they did the cover albums of the themes from television shows too? They had those, and I tell you, you know, everybody knows the godfather of the movie score is John Williams, but the guy I always loved was Goldsmith, Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah,
I love this
Goldsmith to me was the gold standard. He was the guy that even John Williams looked up to because of the amount of music he created during his career. I mean, this is a guy who had done a multitude of things, from film into television and film and more film and television after, and created the themes to many television shows that, wow, like The Waltons, Barnaby Jones. Yeah. He had done work on Man from U.N.C.L.E. And of course, lots of Star Trek as far as the movies go. But he did come to TV to do one Star Trek theme, and that was Star Trek Voyager.
Yep.
Wow, Cool.
That was his. And of course, Patton, MacArthur, some other great themes that he did, other great soundtracks.
My favorite Goldsmith one is Logan's Run. I love that song.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was great.
You see, and that whole time period, just Logan's Run was pretty much the end of 70s sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because once Star Wars hit in May of 77, everything after changed almost overnight.
It wasn't science fiction anymore. It was more space opera kind of thing.
Space opera had hit.
Science fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it was if you really think about it, what you had was a little bit of time there in the desert, a little bit, lots and lots of Planet of the Apes type stuff, spin-offs, TV shows. But then 1975 rolls around, and we get Space 1999. We get some brand new stuff that gets everybody excited.
Yep.
And fortunately, that only goes for 2 years. And then you have, let's see.
Well, you could argue. Well, actually, it's not an arguing. Space 1999 is a disaster series.
Pretty much. And
I never saw the show. I had the toys, but I never saw the show.
Guess what? The first episode you can actually find on YouTube for free. It's called Breakaway. Might as well just be a mini movie.
And yesterday was Breakaway Day.
That's what I was going to say. Yesterday was Breakaway Day, October 13th, 1999. And I'm sorry, September. Why did I think? Because October 13th is a whole different thing. That's Chris Carter's birthday. But it's September 13th, and everything that just came with Space 1999, a whole different aesthetic. Just the look of that show was amazing. But again, you're right. It is kind of a disaster space adventure series, and I really loved it. Love the toys. I hope they're able to get some sort of a deal going to bring it back in some capacity. I hear there have been attempts. And go ahead.
Jerry Anderson, they're doing a Kickstarter for Space 1999. Starting.
Yes. It's not Jerry Anderson though. It's a gentleman out of Milwaukee who is an incredible film fan and film creator. Jeffrey, I forget his last name. I'm so embarrassed because I'd like to get the guy on here and talk to him sometime, because this guy has just been churning it out. He has been creating his own stuff, and to have somebody like my other twin brother, Robert Meyer Burnett, just sort of gush over what he's done, to be impressive enough to make some of these mini films, wherein one of them, which was an attempted pilot, and he was able to get Malcolm McDowell to be in it. That was impressive enough. But then to impress R&B with building the submarine that he used as part of the concept film, which impressed him because it was the complete submarine, and the way he built it and everything was amazing. So Future Dude Entertainment, and this guy's going places. You need to get on this Kickstarter. It's called The Eagle Has Landed, and it's really not so much about Space 1999 as it is a love letter to the design and concept of the Eagle, which is the main spacecraft of the show. Their conversation on recent observations, the latest observations, really, I remembered all of what they were talking about, and it revealed some things that I hadn't really even thought about, having grown up in the 70s. In so much as that the Eagle, I think, hit so many of us the way that it did, because it seemed to have been built out of a lot of the same parts and used a lot of the same technology that the moon landers and other things used. In other words, it looked like something we could build now and we could make use of. And this entire campaign just looks fantastic. And
the filmmaker's name, the writer director is Jeffrey Morris. That's him there.
Jeffrey. Man, I am so sorry I got his name wrong. But again, I will say this: look up some of his stuff on YouTube. Look up Oceana, and look up all that other stuff. You will be impressed. This guy is very, very impressive, and he is a total science fiction fan. I mean, real science fiction, not Hollywood sci-fi. And he is everything. And anyway,
this has the
I'm
blessing
impressed.
of the Gary Anderson company. So because they were promoting it on their channel.
Yes. Yep.
It
does.
It says it has cast members Nick Tate involved, Barbara Bain.
Yep. And Tim asked Keith, the 70s, which one? Ha ha ha!
He's not there yet, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, that Kickstarter actually started yesterday on Breakaway Day.
Yep.
Very
And,
cool.
I could go on, but we're here to talk about disaster movies and some TV shows in total. So
In totem? In totem?
0 Hour. Yes, in total.
Yeah.
Well, Slasher Fred says one of my favorite disaster movies is 0 Hour from 1957, which was the original Airplane. Yes, that was the film used as the basis of the movie Airplane. They use a lot of elements from 0 Hour and Airplane. They basically just used the movie. That's basically what they did. They added a lot of comedic touches to it, but they basically used that movie. I mean, that's the thing about the Zucker brothers.
The same guy that wrote 0 Hour, Arthur Haley, also wrote the book Airport, which is the basis for the 1970 movie.
Yep.
Arthur Haley had a lot of stuff get adapted on TV. I remember his name came up a lot.
A lot.
Oh.
Him and Peter Benchley. Yeah, Peter Benchley.
Oh, geez.
Another one.
Yeah. And of course, the master of disaster himself.
Irwin Allen.
Irwin Allen, baby. I've been a fan of his since I was born, basically, man. My love of his stuff started with Land of the Giants. Loved that friggin' show. Thought it was awesome.
I just loved it all. I mean, it seemed like Irwin Allen stuff. I remember coming home and watching a lot of his shows. It just seemed like a lot of his stuff, while made for families, you know, really appealed to kids. It had a lot of it was always colorful, with the exception of the black and white early episodes of certain shows. But even when there wasn't any color, the adventure was just it just sparked something within you. And when you see his original movie for Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, I should say, the Academy Award winning film Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. There's just something, even with a different cast, and they had a much different cast for that, because being what it was, I mean, he wanted to do this as a weekly television series and recasted all the parts, and unfortunately wasn't able to get Frankie Avalon and Barbara Eden to reprise their roles for the television series. But I just found that show and all the ones that came after to be just incredible. And of course, you know, Lost in Space, which in my opinion,
what he's best known for. But I was always partial to Land of the Giants, man. I dug that one. But
Time Tunnel was mine.
The sets they had in that with all these huge things, like thimbles, and they were using, needle and thread for grappling hooks and stuff. I thought it was just neat, man. It's neat shit. It was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I miss that kind of. I miss that kind of TV. I miss that kind of. Looking back, anybody nowadays would look at that stuff and just roll their eyes. But there was something very comforting about that kind of television, and I kind of miss it. So anyway, let's just jump right into disaster. Mainly,
we should probably say hi to the chat first.
Oh, you're right, we should say hi. I can't just jump in there. First of all, Lady Penny, good morning to you. Tim, who I talked about before, Andy Morrow, Anima Confusa. Wow. I mean, we have 8 people reporting in. I'd like to see if we can get more. I think we can at least double, triple our
Retro
numbers
Nerd
today.
Girl's here too.
Retro. Okay, now I got to be on my best behavior. Along with Mrs. A.
Yep, Mrs. A's here. Yeah, I was busy.
I'm glad you like it.
Putting the list.
Yeah.
Together. So.
Well, Retro Nerd Girl, you're right. This documentary looks like it's going to be amazing. The trailer for it it's exciting. Anyway,
and Brian's here.
Yeah, he said he said That's Armageddon is the greatest disaster movie ever. It's not a disaster movie, bro. It was just a trailer, if you remember. Oh man, too good.
Deep Impact, Armageddon, or Volcano, and Dante's Peak, because they're all very similar. Slasher Fred, I have to agree. But it's still a great genre. I remember watching The Towering Inferno for the first time, and just
the greatest disaster movie of all time. Say it again. Say it again, Keith. Say it again.
The Towering Inferno. Yes. From the master of disaster himself, Irwin Allen.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a lot of people consider the 70s the golden era. But I think the golden age was actually in the 50s.
Yeah.
Because you had When Worlds Collide, War of the Worlds, Day the Earth Caught Fire, Crack in the World. Oh, well, those were 60s, 50s and 60s. That's when you had the really the start of the disaster movie as something outside of just a
occasional
thing. Yeah.
It became a genre that would be kind of big for a while in theaters, and I agree. There's just something kind of fun about it. I mean, you go from that all the way to a lot of the movies with The Rock now.
Yeah.
Like San Andreas.
Yeah. And of course the 50s started the whole actually the Titanic movie started in 1912.
Yeah, I think that's the earliest one we found, right? Was that movie right there?
In Nacht und Uns from Germany. Is not uns, is.
Exactly.
Brian, I said it last night on Joe's show, and I'll say it again. The Last Jedi is the ultimate disaster movie. I have to say, ring, 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 ring-a-ding. I totally agree. The brownhead boy only knows how to screw up. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call him brownhead boy.
Yeah, you did.
Probably use this. Look, after the expose that WDW Pro and Valiant Renegade are dropping about Disney and Star Wars, I'm pretty sure that a lot more people are going to be calling him Roundhead Boy after that.
Oh,
Because that's a lot of money. They just basically went out and torched all that money. That's basically what they did.
No,
I mean,
he-
WDW Pro did he covered the same thing that Valiant Renegade did, but he did it in a way that those of us lesser mortals can actually understand.
right.
And basically, Disney just paid $4.5 billion to buy something, and have ultimately spent close to just over $10 billion, not counting the money spent for advertising all of those films.
The
And
best analogy is the scene from The Dark Knight when the Joker sets all that money on fire and goes, "It's about sending a message."
yeah, that's
Right.
pretty much what they've done. They
Everything burns. Yeah.
it's amazing that when you think about it in terms of business, if anybody had ever done that at any level, at any business, I don't care what it is, sports or in literature or anything, you'd be out of a job quick.
Yeah. You'd be physically irresponsible, and they would whack
Well,
your ass. No
With
doubt
the
about it.
discussion of Roundhead Boy, that would be a good time to plug next week's show.
Oh, yes. Thank you, John.
What you got next week?
Next week, we have a very special top 20 countdown.
Next time on a special episode of Blossom.
We're going to count down the top 20 people who have pretty much attempted to kill fandom.
Nice.
What they have done. We're going to go through and make a case for each of the names on the list. We were discussing last night who our top 5 would be. I don't even think we made it to number. I don't think we made it to number 1.
No.
We danced around it, but I mean, we defined 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I don't think we ever really talked to a number 1's position who would occupy the top spot. So I would say unto everyone, tune in next week to find out. But
I'll be in
Same bat
Maine,
time,
but I'll watch
Same
it.
bat time, same bat channel.
That's right.
hopefully for a lot less cost.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just looking at what Splasher Fred said there. One of the best 70s disaster movies is the movie Earthquake. It was the first disaster to be an attraction at a theme park. Really?
Yep.
Was it?
Yep.
I remember it was the first Sense Around movie. Now, if you're not old enough to remember this, I know everybody on the panel is, but those of you out there that are not fossils like us, they made, I want to say it was about 4 movies in Sense Around. I think it was Earthquake, Midway, Roller Coaster, and I think there was one more, and I never can remember which one it is, but they put special speakers that had low bass ability. In other words, they were loud, but they weren't really made to be loud. What it was supposed to do is emit low bass into the theater to make your seat shake. That's what it was for. And
it was actually the Battlestar Galactica pilot saga.
Oh, they put that out in the theaters in Sense Around? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. A shame I
didn't see
that.
That low bass rumbling that you heard recently in theaters were all the people that actually paid to see episode 5 of Ahsoka in the theater, and we're slightly disappointed.
They all stomped their feet and got up at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, it was really neat. I mean, yeah, it was loud, but it actually shook your chair. I mean, the loudest one I saw was friggin' Midway. The war scenes and the fighter plane scenes and that were really loud. They were. But Earthquake, and I remember, wasn't George Siegel in Roller Coaster? Wasn't he in that? It was about a terrorist blowing up roller coasters at theme parks is what it was.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think that's the one. I think we recently covered the Towering Inferno because we talked about if they were to remake it, who you would have star in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we came up with a pretty good
Did you?
cast.
Okay.
I think we did. I think we.
It
I
has
think you could get away with making that.
Let me tell you something, man. It'd have to be really knock it out of the park cast because you can't remake perfection, bro. You don't understand.
I understand.
Towering Inferno is top 5 in my book, dude. That's one of my favorite movies ever. Love it.
But for the new generation of young people, it's hard to come up with someone that can beat Steve McQueen on the screen.
No. Uh-uh.
And they don't make men like that in theaters.
No, they don't. You know who I thought was going to be the next Steve McQueen? I really did when I was into his career, and he died at an early age, and it's a shame. It's Paul Walker. I thought he was going to be the next one. I really did. But Steve.
Don't do that to me, bro. Because it's like I could see that. I could see Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Retro New Girl, you weren't the only one. Towering Inferno. Towering scared me as a kid, she said. Yeah, it was worrisome, but I went ahead and enjoyed the heck out of it. That's the kind of scare that you like as a kid, though.
That's one of the first movies I went to see as a kid, and man, I went and saw it a couple of times. I loved it, man.
The only movie that ever scared me and gave me nightmares was The Swarm.
The Swarm, another Irwin Allen movie. Yeah. Well, it was topical at the time. It was in the news every other day. How those bees were coming to migrating up through Mexico. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Nothing like killer bees.
You got to remember, I was 8 when that movie came out.
Right.
Yeah. Because what year was that again?
78.
Was it
78? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. You know what? I wasn't 8 anymore by the time that came out.
No. 78, I was 13. I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
But
I was 12.
And I guess Irwin must have liked Richard Chamberlain because he was in both the Towering Inferno and Swarm. He was in both.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Richard was in everything back then. He was in all
he
those
had to be in everything.
miniseries, and he was all over the place.
He was trying to take all the work.
Yes, he was. Kind of like these Brits are doing now,
there was just something about Richard Chamberlain back then. Yeah. Women would tune in to see this guy.
They loved him.
Probably just read a napkin.
That's it.
Thornbirds. That right there.
Shogun.
Shogun was amazing.
Yeah.
Shogun.
He was in some great stuff. He really was, man.
What is it with women of that time period and their gaydar not working?
And a little bit of trivia. He was also the first guy to play Jason Bourne.
Yep. And I gotta say, look, I can't speak to it not working. There's just something about the dude. He was a total panty dropper for a lot of women back then.
Oh yeah,
that's all I can say.
Yeah,
And
what's funny is I don't want to speak out of school, but I'm pretty sure he was homosexual. I'm pretty sure he was.
Yes, he was.
He was.
So all those girls that wanted him, he'd have had to change his mind.
That's why I made the comment about the gaydar.
Yeah.
it's like Liberace. I'm like, how did you not know?
How do you not know? Yeah, right. So far.
Well, yeah, no.
I'm going for coffee, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Look, all I can say is I think Irwin Allen would have used anybody if it brought people into the theater. He would have even had paint dried on a wall for a couple scenes if that would get more people into the theater. So,
real quick before I go get this coffee, I got to tell you about one thing before you get off of Irwin Allen. The main reason as an adult that I dig the guy and still revisit his stuff to this day, he had a background in stunt work, and he always loved stuntmen, and he always came up with new and fresh gags for them to work on, but he always kept them safe and everything. He was really, a behind the scenes kind of director. He had good relationships with the actors, but his crew and his stuntmen, he always loved, no doubt.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. Slice Fred has a question.
Yeah.
You consider the original War of the Worlds to be a disaster movie? I do. It's alien invasion disaster movie. It's still a disaster because
I mean, yeah. You know what? Yes, but I also consider Spielberg's also a disaster movie. So
yeah, it is.
And I thought that's one of my top favorite Tom Cruise films.
The really cool thing is a movie can be more than one genre.
Yes.
And
it doesn't have to be a disaster on multiple fronts like Ghostbusters 2016.
Ooh, ouch.
Oh, did I say that out loud? What I meant to say was, hey, anybody like tacos? Huh?
We just lost we just lost the 3 people that actually saw that movie in the theater. So.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Oh man. Let's just go ahead and let's start with the disaster movies of the 1950s.
Actually, we should go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So go back to the beginning. So I went back to the beginning.
Okay.
There's actually there's some disagreement on what. Okay, I might actually be wrong, but there was a lot of Titanic movies, and there were 2 in 1912 and 1913 were the first 2. There was the In East and the Titanic Atlantis. There was also there's a Danish movie I haven't seen. I didn't even know this existed. It's called The End of the World. It's about a comet. So this one may be the beginning of the modern concept of a disaster movie, but I need to verify that. There's also a Noah's Ark movie, but I think Deluge from 1933 is the first of the modern disaster movies. It's also the first talkie of that. So make that what you will. Deluge.
Who was in that?
Well, I'm about to show you.
Oh, okay.
Because I have it. Deluge.
Okay.
Let me make that a little easier to read. It's about a massive earthquake that hits the U.S. and destroys the West Coast, and a flood wipes out, a tidal wave wipes out New York. It's got Laurie Wilson, Sidney Blackmer, Perry Shannon, Matt Moore, Fred Kohler. It's Edward Van Sloan. These other people here that I don't recognize. But but it was directed by Felix Feist and came out in 1933. And you can see why I consider this the first modern disaster movie.
Yeah, it fits the template of like what Irwin Allen did. He put an all-star cast together and just made it a huge ensemble show about what they do when faced with mortality, right? I was watching it. I was walking back in here on my phone. And I was like, yeah, that looks like an Irwin Allen movie right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what anybody says. He's the father of the disaster movie, even though they came before him.
It was also pre-code.
Right.
And it was outside the studio system completely. Mm-hmm. So that gave them a lot more freedom to do what they did.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So, but I can, like I said, I haven't seen that 1916 Danish movie. So, but I'm going to try, now that I know it exists, I'm going to track it down. Mm-hmm. If it's available somewhere, I'll find it. But, like I said, I've always considered this the start of the modern concept of the
Deluge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm sorry. That 70s rock fan cracks me up. Some of the stuff he says.
Night to Remember.
Yeah. Night to Remember, but he said it's better than Titanic.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Depends if you're talking the official version or the red light district version. So,
well, what's funny is you're talking about deluge, and you're talking about is it a tsunami that wipes out New York in it?
Yep.
Okay.
There's an earthquake on the west.
You know what? The
coast,
first thing I
tsunami on the east
envision,
coast.
I've never seen that movie, but the first thing I envision is that scene from The Day After Tomorrow when they're trying to get in the library before it hits, right?
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Thank you for letting me know that electricity's been restored.
They just let you know? They just texted you?
Wow. Wow.
I'm expecting the text that the internet's back up here in a few minutes too.
Oh yeah.
Internet? What's that?
A little late on the trigger there, folks.
Fred, it's called The End of the World. It's a Danish film. Came out in 1916.
1916.
Yep.
They've been making movies for a long time, folks.
Yeah. In fact, I think just before that movie came out was the first Wizard of Oz film.
Yeah.
Came out a few years before that. Because the 1939 version is actually the second film adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of people forget, man. Wizard of Oz came out, the one that everybody knows and loves, came out in the 30s, and so did one of the greatest epics ever made, man, about the burning of Atlanta and all that stuff. You know.
Yep. Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind that's from the 30s, man. That was the
1939.
1939.
Same year.
Yep. Crazy. Yeah.
Same year.
John Ford's movie The Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
The end of that was the whole thing about the since the South Pacific would definitely be a typhoon,
right?
But that slamming into a Pacific island. So, 1939 or 1936 had a San Francisco earthquake movie.
Really?
And there was In Old Chicago, which is about the Chicago fire. So,
yeah, I've always wondered if they ever made movies about the Chicago fire.
Yeah, they have.
You would think they would have one like that.
I think there's even a movie about Mrs. O'Leary's cow. So,
really,
what?
Well, that's how it was rumored to have been started, was a cow knocking over.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call that movie Hot Beef. All right.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, but the 50s, the 50s is when it started with, I think it's when the modern golden age started of disaster movies. That's when movies were, I think, less of a niche and more people started seeing disaster movies.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's post World War II. A lot of you got a lot of teenagers. You had the drive-ins, but the big thing about the disaster films is that it was an opportunity to be able to make really cheap movies, colorful movies sometimes, but really cheap films for audiences that you were trying to get to go to the drive-in theaters and movie theaters and all that stuff. I mean, it really was more of the purview of B films than it was A film material.
Yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just a majority of a lot of these films in the 50s were all pretty much just B movie films. Mm-hmm. And ways of well, like for instance, I think Steve McQueen, he's in The Blob.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. A lot of people forget that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love him in that movie too. He's great.
Oh, he's good. He's really good in that movie. But it's just everybody's got to start someplace.
Yep.
So 1950s was a decade where there's a lot of lot of different things that they decided to do in order to get this new emerging generation of young people that have money, or at least had a better lifestyle because of what their parents had done a generation before. So,
Yep.
Well, I know that one of my favorite, probably, if you had me picking a favorite disaster movies, hard.
Right? It's
But,
like picking one of your kids.
Yeah.
Your favorite kid, right? Yeah.
But if I had to be pressed on it, I would have to say it's going to be When Worlds Collide,
which is a great flick. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
that thing's pretty damn awesome. Yeah, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I watched it when I was a kid, and it was great. Yeah,
yeah.
That's one of the
first.
That's
one
of
50s.
Yeah. When Worlds Collide. And I couldn't tell you what my favorite one from the 50s was. Huh. I mean, they're all good.
I'd have to say the same thing, that it's When Worlds Collide. That movie was pretty cool. It really was.
Yeah, that was one of that's another George Powell film. So,
well, George Powell was just good at it.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why the disaster movie had a big prevalence after World War II is because of the dropping of the atomic bomb. An entire city getting vaporized. People were trying to come to grips with that, and a lot of nightmares coming out of that. You know what I mean? And Hollywood's always going to, look at something topical and seeing how they can work it into what they do. And the disaster movie was a great way to do it, without scaring everybody to death. Their town was going to be next on the hit list, So
unlike The Day After, which,
oh God, that's wholly depressing. That's one of those movies, kind of like The Passion of the Christ. You have to be in the right mindset to watch the Day After.
I mean, it's
the brutal truth about what would happen if nukes were ever lobbed at each other. I mean, it's
well, it's like my town actually gets name dropped in that movie.
Does it? Very cool.
Well, you're still young to remember when they handed out all of the pamphlets and stuff for schools, because they turned that into kind of an educational thing. And I remember I had to take one of those pamphlets home, and I was just like, I wasn't really motivated to watch it, even though it was an event movie that everybody was supposed to watch. I wasn't really that motivated because it's like, we're talking missiles.
It was one of the most watched television.
It was.
Came out
just that one same thing. It's either the video footage or at least the image of just those missiles launching.
Mm-hmm.
You got this small town, and you see the exhaust from a missile launching, and it was just like, and I think from that moment on, I still am very aware of where all of the places were around where I'm living.
I still remember where the missile silos were around Sedalia.
I am not. Let's just say I am very aware that where I am living is definitely a target that the other side has already marked.
You guys have heard me say several times. Look, if it all pops off, I'm just, I'm gonna look at Ron and say, "What was that flash?" I'm like, and I won't even be seen anymore. I'll be vaporized instantly because I'm right next to a SAC base, a Strategic Air Command base.
Oh, geez, dude, yeah.
I'm one neighborhood away from it, so I won't even know it. I always tell people I'm not even worried about a nuclear war. I won't even know it happened.
Yeah, it'll just happen for you. Me, on the other hand, I'll get a couple of seconds to realize what's going on.
Yeah,
because I am down the road from the home of the B-2 bomber.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah. That right there is gonna do it.
Don't worry, Tim. I will.
And
no problem.
And before that, it was the center. It was a SAC-based center for the Midwest Minuteman missiles.
Oh yes. Oh wow. You see, and for us, we're close enough to where I will get the nice image.
Yeah.
And then it won't be that long until, So
But yeah,
okay.
that's why I think the 50s were a heyday for disaster movies. I think that it had everything to do. Well, just look at, not only, I don't know if you can consider this as a disaster movie, but it was a big movie at the time in the 50s. Had James Arness in it. Was them. The production, if you look into the production of that movie, excuse me, they kept it. It was like a Star Wars movie. They kept the script under wraps. The trailers didn't tell you anything about it. All it said was them in big letters and the date it was coming out. And the posters just had them in big letters. And you didn't really know what it was about until you walked into the theater to see it, but it had everything to do with, atomic testing. That's why these ants got so huge. And,
that must have been a conversation. What are you going to see? Them. Who?
Them. Who? Them. Yeah.
Them.
Who's on first? Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider it really a disaster movie. It's a monster movie.
Right. It's a monster movie. But what I'm saying is the 50s, it was rampant with stuff like that, end of the world type stuff. And I think it really was because of the bombs we dropped in World War II.
Well, the whole thing in a disaster movie, there has to be some sort of massive loss of life or massive loss of property.
Yeah, didn't you come up with a definition for the disaster movie when we did our disaster movie show? What was that definition? I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember how I phrased it, but it's basically got to destroy something,
right,
of significance.
Mm-hmm.
So town, major building that causes loss of life, area, planet, solar system. That's. But that's in order for it to be a disaster, something has to get destroyed.
Yeah, something. On a large scale.
Tim says a young Leonard Nimoy is in Them.
Yep.
Yeah, Them had a great cast, man. Of course, James Arness was the headliner, but there's I don't know the actor's name, but it's funny you mentioned the Blob earlier. You remember the old man that got the blob? He was playing with it with a stick and he got it on his arm. The whole start of the thing.
Yeah.
He's in Them. He's the drunk they question, where they actually figure out that it's inside the lake bed. That's where they camped out at. He's the drunk in that movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm beginning to see something here.
Well, it's like today. If you're a good character actor, they're going to use you over and over again in a lot of movies. Oh, yeah. And this guy was in a lot of them back then. He was the old drunk kind of guy. So, yeah.
Well, the atomic age, really, there's a disaster movie that spawned the kaiju genre.
Yeah.
And that's because that Godzilla, the original 54 Godzilla, is a disaster movie.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Even though it's the first kaiju movie.
And Godzilla is the fallout from that disaster, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's also the means of the destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he devastates Tokyo. Well, something got destroyed. It just instead of it being a natural disaster, it was a man-made disaster. Because atomic testing is what made Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. There's just. Yeah, this entire genre is just so filled with just amazing visuals and incredible stunts, and again, it's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why practical effects are so good today, because there were a lot of these movies made, and people had to perfect a lot of things, so that by the time you made it to something like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, or even San Andreas starring The Rock, which I do like that movie. I
still
San
haven't seen it.
Andreas.
I haven't seen that one yet.
There's
I
just
need to sit down and watch it, but
there's a scene in there that is pretty much it pretty much encapsulates what I think about a major disaster happening, which is a lot of y'all gonna just not survive.
Y'all gonna die.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you younger people that will not be able to make it because you're too tied into your cell phones and stuff, and without them, you're just lost. I mean, there's a scene where Alexandria Daddario goes into a Radio Shack basically and gets one of the phones and plugs it in, and the kid trying to figure out what she's doing.
Right.
It was just like she said she learned from her dad. He's like, landlines, just use the landlines because the cell phones don't work.
Cell phones aren't going to work. Sorry about that.
Although I would hate to point out the logic in that film, but because you kind of have to a lot of times check logic at the door for a disaster movie.
I know.
But landlines wouldn't work either because the lines would be down.
Yeah.
Or destroyed because if they're the underground lines from the shaking.
Yeah.
They'd be broken.
Sure.
So landlines would be down too. But that's
Retro Nerd Girl says, I just love miniatures, and then Anima backed it up with miniature practical effects are so awesome.
Yeah.
It's sad that nowadays people go the lazy route with CGI. Yeah. That's one thing. That's one of the reasons why I love Christopher Nolan. That guy likes to do everything practically.
Yes.
And that's one thing I dig about his flicks. And it's funny you mentioned miniatures. Some of these miniatures are pretty big. Yes, they're miniatures, but like the one you guys look, I love the movie. I'm going to keep going back to it. The Towering Inferno, that tower that they made, that they originally made a miniature, but when they set it on fire, they realized that the flames were too big. It looked like a toy. So the miniature for that, I'd have to look up a picture.
I think it was like 30. It was like 30 foot tall.
It was like 30 feet tall. It was like 3 stories tall. The miniature they used in the Towering Inferno. That way, when they, lit it, at least it looked like it was really big flames, but it wasn't, out of proportion. You know what I mean? And some of that stuff, man. Wow.
There are films that like to use a combination. That really is the way I think modern movies should be made. Where even before the Lord of the Rings and what Peter Jackson did, you had films that would double up on many different types and ways to use visual effects, whether it be through miniatures or forced perspective, or for even matte paintings, of which Raiders of the Lost
Wars
Ark
is a
did all
perfect
three.
example of it. The original Star Wars, it had all those things.
Raiders of the Lost Ark had all those, and really one of
the most underrated miniatures ever is the dam in the first Superman movie. That is one of the greatest miniatures I've ever seen. It was awesome. It looks really
or the
great.
train from out of Africa.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. There are all kinds of ways that you can make really, really, really good movies nowadays, where you don't really need to use CGI. It shouldn't really cost you that much, and if you do it the right way, you can make any movie look like it's way more expensive than it actually is if you just use your miniatures and forced perspective the right way. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who specialize in doing that anymore, because we pretty much just thrown a lot of people overboard in favor of CGI, unfortunately. And so now, everything's outrageous in the cost of what it takes to make these things, rather than just, using practical effects. In fact, the first Bond movie is all practical effects with the exception of at least one or two shots. and it's choreography, practical effects, editing.
Man, you want to talk about a series of movies that used miniatures a lot, especially when you got into the late 70s and early 80s, man. The Spy Who Loved Me, that whole scene with the frigate, I mean, everything at sea, his lair that rose and fell into the sea, and the tanker with the submarines and everything. Wow. That had some really cool practical effects in it. It was really cool. For sure. Wow.
So
great stuff. Bringing back memories. Talk about this.
Yeah. So let's get into the 1960s, because that to me is a decade where it's easy to lose track of the fact that there were disaster movies in the 60s, not as prevalent as we had them in the 50s, and not the same number that we were definitely going to get in the 70s. But there were a few. You know,
Day the Earth Caught Fire, Cracking the World, Krakatoa, Double at 4 o'clock.
Let's see, 1960s.
The Last Voyage, about the.
Don't tell me another Titanic movie.
No, actually, it's not Titanic, but it's it is considered the predecessor to the Poseidon Adventure.
Yep.
You also had a lot of aircraft disaster movies in the 60s, like The Crowded Sky, Doomsday Flight, which was written by Rod Sterling.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Wow. Rod was just everywhere. Guy could not stop.
Rod Sterling. Yeah.
The world needs him right now. Oh, and of course, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
The Academy Award winning Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. You know what? And Doomsday Flight was written by,
Yep.
Why did I not know that? Oh, well, of course. Television thriller. Okay. So Jack Lord, Edmund O'Brien, Van Johnson, Catherine Crawford, John Saxon. We just lost him a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Ed Asner, John Saxon. Gosh, I miss that guy. Wow. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, 1961.
Yep.
Walter Pidgeon, Robert Sterling.
Yeah, well, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea isn't technically a disaster movie.
It's an end of days when worlds collide.
Yeah,
Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea the day after.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind. I
Peter Lorre,
something else.
Joan Fontaine, Barbara Eden, Michael and Sarah, and Frankie Avalon. Wow. That's a movie.
Yeah.
We keep dancing around it. We should just bring back Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I could do that. If Hollywood gave me a chance, I could do that. Considering when the TV series is set, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so, like you were right, there wasn't that many in the 60s, but the ones in the 60s were good.
Yeah. Now in the 70s, it's pretty much a race to see who could do it better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Started with Airport in 1970.
Andromeda Strain in 1971.
What year was Poseidon Adventure?
70.
So 71 or 72?
I thought it was 74.
Is it 70?
Really?
72? 72? You sure?
Double checking. 72. Yep.
Okay.
I knew it was early in the decade.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I know how I did that. Because Beyond the Poseidon Adventure was 1979. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But Airport, yeah, Arthur Haley's classic novel.
Yeah.
Turned into a movie. I remember that one when I was a kid.
Let's see. Michael
Dean
Crichton
Martin,
was
baby. Yeah.
Yep.
Michael
Lancaster,
Crichton.
George Kennedy, Jacqueline Bisset,
Mhm.
Helen Hayes, who
Jacqueline Bisset.
won
Oh my
won for
God.
best supporting actress.
Wow.
And Airport was nominated for best picture for the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have the thing about the Andromeda Strain that should not be overlooked is the fact that it's a movie directed by Robert Wise that was based on it was a thriller written as a novel by Michael Crichton.
Yep.
It came out in 1969. And Arthur Hill, gosh, I miss him too. Kate Reed, James Olsen, David Wayne. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good cast. Good cast. Let's see. You also have the Cassandra Crossing.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
disaster movies in the 70s is when they started making real money. Because Airport made $100 million, which is like 13 million in today's money.
Mm-hmm. So you had 76, George P. Cosmatos.
Yeah.
Directed Cassandra Crossing, starring Sophia Loren. God, she's hot.
Yeah.
Richard Harris.
That's a classic beauty right there, no doubt.
Oh God, that woman! Just even when she got older, she was still like
timeless beauty. Yep.
My God.
She aged gracefully, no doubt.
Yes. Just hot. I mean, I'm just geez. Anyway, Ava Gardner, Martin Sheen, Burt Lancaster, Lee Strasberg, and O.J. Simpson about a disease-infected Swedish terrorist who infects a train. Oh, geez. Yeah, I remember that now.
Did you guys see that 70s rock fans question there?
No, it's considered the Day of the Triffids a disaster movie.
That's a good question.
I don't remember how much actually gets destroyed in that movie. I think it's just monsters people, which would major loss of life. It would depend on how many people got eaten, I guess.
That's
that's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a good question. Retro Nerd Girl.
It's disaster adjacent.
There you go. I like the way you did.
I like that. Disaster adjacent.
Poseidon Adventure scared me. I was too little, but I loved it. There's a lot to love in the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, didn't it get the Oscar for best song?
Yeah. The morning
after, I think.
There's got to be a morning after.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I can't even remember who sang that. Let me see.
Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Destiny Captain. I would consider 5 Million Years to Earth, Quartermass in the Pit, a disaster movie. Huh.
You could make that argument.
Yeah, you could. Quartermass, otherwise known as the precursor to the Fantastic Four.
Right.
Yep.
Or the TV series Fringe. Fringe is really American Quartermass.
Yeah.
That's really all that TV show is. It's American Quartermass.
Yeah. Maureen McGovern sang The Morning After.
That song was all over the radio.
Yeah, it was. They tried to do the same thing in Towering Inferno, and the song was nominated. It's the one that they're playing at the dinner party upstairs. But it didn't have the same effect. Yeah.
Well, in the 70s, after these earlier disaster movies, Airport, Poseidon Adventure, Earthquake, Towering Inferno, there was a lot of made-for-TV movies that capitalized on disaster movies too that were popular.
Oh yeah.
There's Heat Wave, The Day the Earth Moved, Hurricane, Flood, Fire.
We got all the elements. Earth,
Quicksand,
wind, and fire.
Fumes, toxic waste. Oh, sorry. That's the Addams Family. Sorry.
Well, I mean,
great band.
Getting back to the whole music thing, everybody was trying to have music nominated because that was just one more award you could win.
Right.
I mean, even with Superman the movie, Can You Read My Mind?
Yep.
You know, which again, even at a young age, I could tell what they were talking about with that song. It's really Lois Lane going, yeah, can we? Yeah, 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 you can.
Yeah.
But let's see.
But the 70s is when Irwin Allen pretty much set the standard. Everybody else was trying to catch up.
Yep.
Because he got everybody to be in his movies. He put, I mean, you always walked out of his movies going, I didn't, you weren't left wanting something out of the movie. He put everything in it you could conceive of. You know what I mean? And you know I love The Towering Inferno. That's my favorite one. But just everything they did in that movie. And how good was this guy? He actually got O.J. Simpson to act. He actually got
right. Well, that was right after his career was over. This is in the after. I mean, the immediate aftermath after he left sports.
Right, he had just left.
So the further away you get, that's when you start to wander a bit. But in the immediate after that, I mean, because what year was that again?
1975, I think, or 4. 1974.
So that's
yeah.
So Joe Namath had already been out a few years. And,
he was making movies already. Yep.
Yeah, Joe was capitalizing, and of course,
1974.
Yeah, Joe was already capitalizing. He had his own talk show and everything else. So, if you wanted to make it big, you needed to show something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this was years before O.J. Simpson would take a stab at something else.
Wow, I do not believe you went for the low-hanging fruit. I mean, cut it out, dude.
Did you get the point?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, the dagger! Wow, you're next thing you know, you'll be saying stuff like, maybe they should have cast him in the movie Jagged Edge.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I learned when we did that show with That 70s Rock Fan that one time, it was the first time that two major actors had been billed on the card at the same time. Mm-hmm. Steve McQueen and Paul Newman, when that movie was made, were at war with each other about screen time. I think it was McQueen's people that said, "Look, I want as many lines as Paul Newman has in the movie." They had to have the exact same amount of words spoken in the movie.
Well, that shows you how far Steve McQueen had come.
Oh yeah,
because I think both men had been in film a same amount of time, but that Paul Newman his star had risen a little earlier with films like HUD and other things. But
he had been in a lot more movies than
but when McQueen's time came, he made the most of it.
Oh yeah, he capitalized.
I mean, McQueen was just downright the man. He was just. There was no doubt that McQueen was the man in Hollywood. I'm sorry, anybody that tries to argue anything different is smoking something if they're not really sharing with you. But
the women may have gone for Paul Newman, but Steve McQueen was the man's actor.
Oh, right. No. Even the women that went for Paul Newman, McQueen got them.
Yeah.
I mean, McQueen, come on. McQueen was just it. He
was cut out of the same cloth as James Dean. James Dean, he was the same kind of guy, the quiet, tough guy kind of thing. And, shoot, every guy wanted to be Steve McQueen, dude. They wanted to drive the fast cars and, get the girls and everything. He could have easily been, if they'd have made an American James Bond series, they would have cast him as friggin' the CIA operative that they made the story around or something, because he was the guy. He was the one, no doubt.
McQueen was just it. I mean,
and it was funny how they did it in Towering Inferno. If you look at the opening credits, they've got McQueen's name to the left, which we all know you read left to right, right? So his name's first, but Paul Newman's is listed a little bit higher than his. So, you know, that's how they made it equal for him, you know.
We wouldn't even see anything like that, any kind of negotiations for screen time and lines like that until Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Right.
Yeah.
Between Bugs and Mickey. So
yeah, of course.
Yep.
You know.
Certainly.
Well, I mean, you always hear these stories coming out in Hollywood. I think the last time we heard this was like, what was it, Vin Diesel and The Rock in the Fast movies? That there was some kind of, you know, thing between those two, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was a big deal back then. Those two being in the same movie at the same time. I mean, you know, just look at the two movies that Paul made with Redford.
Hey, Martin.
Right? Both of them were huge hits. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting. Those two movies, they're iconic to this day, you know.
Well,
and
it's called chemistry, kids.
Often. Yeah. You just didn't see it. It's
called chemistry. When you've got chemistry, you should have people like that together more. In the 70s, that's really what you tried to play up because it was very rare. And even to this day, it is rare to find two people who have chemistry. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, two women, two men, doesn't matter. If you've got chemistry, you've got chemistry. And you should try to play that up as much as possible. And in certain instances, like in the road movies, you milk it for a couple of films, you know. Unless the two people are a duo, in which case then you can start printing money. I mean, it's Martin and Lewis, it's Abbott and Costello, it's, you know,
Burns and Allen,
or even if you're born into the same family, you know, like the Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
So I know we got welcome to old man talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I started that when I dropped Burns and Allen.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You got a cigar?
Let's not get into that one.
Right.
It's look, everybody, for those that still need to be reminded, we're talking disaster movies.
Yeah.
And wow, Martin, welcome.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
I'm sure you've been off and on, going kind of sort of just catching things here and there.
Oh, I haven't been able to. In fact, I'll be back.
Okay. And there he is. He's in
and there he goes, ladies and gentlemen.
There he goes, Marty.
Yep. Well,
that
brings us to the 80s.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
There wasn't any real.
We can't get out of the 70s though without mentioning Airport 75. The original Airport movie spawned what? 4 sequels all the way up to the Concorde movie in 79, I think.
79. Which is my favorite airport movie because it's got the Concorde in it.
Yeah. My favorite one's 75. That one was awesome where they had to drop Charlton Heston into the plane to get him to pilot it down. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I love it.
Well, also we have the movie, the Canadian American film called Plague from 1979.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Internationally, it was known as Induced Syndrome in the UK, M3, the Gemini strain, or mutation. So
wow, a lot of names for one movie.
I know, right? And then you go right into the 80s, and it's the Japanese strike first in 1980 with a film called Virus.
Yep.
And it's a Japanese post-apocalyptic science fiction film.
The end of probably the end of the 70s, the end of the disaster run in the 70s in the second golden age, or what I call the second golden age, even though most people say that just the 70s were the golden age, I still think the 50s were the first golden age of disaster movies.
Right.
But Yeah, it was When Time Ran Out. That
Yep.
was pretty much, it was Irwin Allen's last disaster movie.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
And that pretty much signaled the end of the disaster movies in its heyday.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
At the time.
Yep. I always forget about that one. I knew, I always remember Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, The Swarm. I knew he made one after that, and it's that one. I could not remember what the name of it was. Mm-hmm.
Well, it had a freaking, like all Irwin Allen movies, it had a freaking ridiculous cast.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That became really one of those things that a lot of these films became known for, which is the cast. It became a thing to try to get as many people into a movie as possible.
Right. We didn't even mention Earthquake from the 70s, which was the same year as the Towering Inferno, and it was another all-star cast. And one veteran from the Airport series was in it. George Kennedy was in that one with Charlton Heston.
He was in a lot of
that's one unlucky dude.
I'm telling you. Don't be anywhere near George Kennedy. Your life is in danger.
If you see George Kennedy Airport, don't take a flight.
Don't get on
take
the
a train.
Yeah.
Take a train. Take a bus. Unless you was something like the Big Bus, which was its own moving disaster. But it's a comedy though.
That's a disaster spoof, really.
It works. When I was younger, I loved watching the Big Bus. I mean, you know.
but with When Time Ran Out, you had Paul Newman, Jacqueline Bisset, William Holden, Edward Albert, Red Buttons, Barbara Carrera.
Yeah.
Alex
Jacqueline
Carreras
was the 70s babe to me.
Bordine.
Oof.
That's just.
Yep. Jacqueline
Bisset, man. All I can see is the T-shirt in the deep. That's all I can see.
Yeah.
She just had her birthday yesterday. That's a nice
that woman makes me hungry.
That's a nice woman.
That's a spicy meatball. Yes.
I definitely remember the T-shirt in the deep. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, it was Peter Benchley's second novel turned into a movie, and it was him, or excuse me, it was her, Nick Nolte, and I think Robert Shaw was in that one too, right? But he wasn't he wasn't a Quint character. He was more like an island native guy. He knew everything about the island and shit. And, it was pretty cool. But anyway, I didn't mean when we said Jacqueline, I just I get
that's fine.
Vapor locked on Jacqueline.
Well,
how beautiful she was.
Yeah, I mean, Susan St. James was the weekly TV crush on McMillan and Wife, and when she wore her Jets jersey and barely anything else for the bedroom scenes,
right?
I again, kids, for you young men out there, just Susan St. James, McMillan and Wife, Jets jersey. Look that up.
Look it up.
It's healthy. It's good for you.
So get back to disaster movies. The 80s was a dead time for disaster movies.
Well, Raise the Titanic in 1980.
Yeah, which is based on it was the first book or first time that they tried to make a movie out of a Clive Cussler book.
That's right.
Sadly, they've failed both times. I don't see how they can get that wrong. I mean, but they have.
It's Hollywood. You expected
Race the Titanic wasn't that bad of a movie, but
outside of Clive Cussler jumping behind the camera to make the movie himself, Hollywood will always
well, unfortunately, we
go
lost
a little
few
sideways.
Years ago, so
I know, but I mean that's the one thing that I keep trying to tell people is the reason why Marvel was successful, because they made their own movies. That's the big difference. DC wasn't operating under the same capacity because they were owned by Warner Brothers, which means they could never make their own movies because Warner Brothers was never going to let them do that. So every movie made was a Warner Brothers movie, meaning that it had to be a movie that was a movie within their system, whereas Marvel just went ahead and made its own studio and made its own movies.
Yeah.
Which were good up until Phase 4. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when it came to disaster movies in the 80s,
yeah.
pretty much the death knell had been told on the first of all the airplane movies, because a little known movie came out in 1980 making fun of the whole damn thing based on Zero Hour.
Yep.
Right? Airplane came out in 1980 and pretty much made those movies a joke, you know. And
yeah, that was their second film.
Yeah,
that was their second movie, because
Very
their first one was Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yep.
And that was just a series of skits that would never make it on Saturday Night Live.
No,
because they were a little risque.
One of the best movies. One of the best movies ever. Yep. Mm-hmm. That 70s Rock fan's actually doing that one this Monday too.
Yeah.
So, you guys
Brown
for that. So, yep.
Brown 25.
But
this week on Thrill Seekers.
That's it. Oh man, yeah, you'd never get away with that one, brother. Good Lord.
Is it BS or not?
Let's see.
Well, you know, we had the day after, which we already mentioned. That was 83.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that the 80s was more of a turn to the post-apocalyptic, really, when you look at
Control was in 87.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else came out in the 80s.
Night of the Comet came out in 84.
Yeah, The Miracle Mile.
Mm-hmm. Testament in 83.
Yeah, so they didn't. I mean, they had a few, but none of them were. It wasn't like the 70s.
No.
Yeah.
They tried. I mean, you had Art Carney and St. Helens.
Yeah.
You know, they tried to do those, but it was definitely a turn to the post-apocalyptic, really.
Yeah, you got out of what caused the disaster and what happened after the disaster. So you had like Mad Max. Well, first Mad Max was 79, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you had that was Road Warrior, or the Road Warrior came out in 82.
It was in the 80s. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember when that movie
Beyond
came out.
Thunderdome.
Everybody went to see that flick. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because if you remember, this is when HBO was first kicking off. I mean, in the late 70s was when you had home box office. You had that box on top of your TV, and you just flipped the switch, and it changed your TV to that. And I'll never forget the first movie they showed locally on HBO here. It came on in the afternoon. It was an old. I think it's actually a remake. It was called Sorcerer with Roy Scheider in it.
Yeah.
About those guys hauling nitroglycerin across the Amazon. It was really cool. But
hey, I got good news. My internet's been restored.
Your internet's back on. That's awesome. Way to go, guys. Way to go.
Wow.
But yeah, HBO, what happened was a lot of us in the States hadn't seen Mad Max. But through HBO, I know that's where I saw it the first time, and I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And I was totally enthralled with Mad Max. And when the
yes.
Road Warrior came out, I was like, "Yeah, this is the bomb."
I saw it on HBO for the first time too.
Yeah,
because unbeknownst to my parents for years, by the time they figured it out, it was too late because I was in high school. But when they bought the cable box for my bedroom, or when they got the cable box from my bedroom, so I could, watch TV. That way I could watch what I want without bugging them and what they want to watch. So I had a little 13-inch black and white TV that they got me a cable box for. Well, what they didn't know is that it was a clone of their cable box.
Oh.
They just gave gave you the exact same thing you had.
Yeah.
So I had HBO in my room.
Let me guess, John. You discovered how to kind of, work the button just right to try to get the outlines of Skinamax.
Now you got to remember, back then we had these little tuners where you could
mess
with it. I can see
H-
nipple through that friggin' haze. You know.
HBO was good enough for me because it introduced me to what would become my first celebrity crush.
Oh,
That's Helen Mirren in Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fine as all get out.
Oh God, she was so nice.
She still is.
So nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she is. Yeah, she is. She's on the list. You know, she's
Yeah.
yeah.
But
You will have my gratitude. Yes. Take him to Detroit. Yes.
no, not Detroit.
Not Detroit. No.
Catholic high school girls in trouble.
That's it. Catholic high school girls in trouble.
Here's this.
The joy of sex comes with Big Jim Slade.
Tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And he comes equipped with whips and chains and a sexual appetite that'll knock your socks off. Oh, man. Too much. That movie's crazy.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
I'm telling you. That's the best ever. I know we're getting sidetracked, guys, but that's really...
Check out that 70s Rock Fan channel
That is a good
at 4
revealing.
Central. Check out 70s Rock Fan channel at 4 Central, and you'll see what we're talking about with the Kentucky Fried
Oh, my God. It's so great. It is so great. I
But
hope
to
he's
get
got a
back
good
to-
slideshow for that one, man, because damn, that's going to be good.
If you're lucky, he might have Susan St. James. You never know.
Ooh, look
Yeah.
at Yep.
To circle back around to disaster movies,
Yes.
Yes.
the 90s were kind of a resurgence.
Yes.
Wait, are we not talking about the Poseidon?
We already
Oh,
skipped-
that was in the 70s, buddy. We're
Yeah,
past that.
70s.
Yeah. We're past that already.
Yeah,
Unless you're
did you
talking
wanna
about the remake with Kurt Russell. Wasn't Kurt Russell in the remake?
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
that's in the second revival in the early
Yeah,
early
2000s,
mid
yeah.
2000s.
Yeah, because the first one I think was on Hallmark Channel. It was a Hallmark Channel TV movie.
Poseidon Adventure? No.
They did a Poseidon in Hallmark with this guy, the one from Police Academy. I forgot his name.
Oh,
it's,
Steve.
Steve Guttenberg, yes.
Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Huh.
Huh. Yeah.
Didn't even know about
I was
that.
Trying, I was trying to forget that one.
Believe me, you dodge a bullet.
I had forgotten about that one myself because it's that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy that likes bad movies. So
Right.
if I'm going, that's bad, take my word for it.
Well,
Right.
you know,
But in the
90s.
90s, we had Twister, Dante's Peak,
Uh-huh.
Volcano,
Uh-huh.
Independence Day. We had Armageddon. No, Armageddon. Yeah, Armageddon was 90. Yeah, that was.
That was in the 90s.
But
Yeah.
also
Deep Impact.
Daylight.
Daylight.
Sylvester Stallone,
Mm-hmm.
Hard
Amy
Rain.
Brenneman, Viggo Mortensen, Dan Hedaya, Stan Shaw, J.O. Saunders, Karen Young, Danielle
Yeah.
Harris. Look, that's one of my favorite Stallone films, Daylight.
Yeah.
I can
We
tell.
also had a little dollars and maybe won a couple awards called Titanic.
Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never heard of it. What's it about?
Yeah, you know, the
It's-
Titanic
it's-
story, really, when you think about it, that's kind of the cornerstone of the man-made kind of disaster.
They have been
movie.
making
Yeah.
Titanic movies since 1912.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's really a go-to staple of of disaster films.
Oh,
Yeah.
a question here. Question
Yeah.
for you.
Oh.
You are so savvy in these matters. Would Apollo 13 count as a disaster movie?
Ooh.
Not really.
I don't think
Nobody
so.
died.
Yeah. Well, also it's a historical film. It's
Yeah.
really kind of
Well, Titanic was an historical
Titanic
film.
is too.
But a bunch of people died. Nobody died.
well, but on top of that, your main characters in Titanic didn't exist.
Yeah.
Whereas Apollo 13, everybody existed. It's real people telling the story of these astronauts and what they went through, versus a movie telling a real event but with fictionalized characters
Yes.
in
The
certain
Tunnel.
instances.
Good movie.
The Tunnel. Sounds cool, man.
The Channel?
Yeah.
The Tunnel. The Tunnel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a Korean movie.
Leave
it to Brian to bring up the Korean flicks. He loves them. He does. He loves them. He finds all kinds of good stuff that's Korean. And I have to say, some of them are good, but it's they're not disaster movies. I like The Raid. That's a really good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's The Raid is not Korean. The Raid is Indonesian.
Is it Indonesian?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's Indonesian.
Yeah.
But gave us Tony Jaa.
Mm-hmm.
But in the early 2010s, or in the 2010s, there's a series of Norwegian disaster movies that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like
brain fart.
Never heard of that one. What's that one about?
No, hang on. Give me a second. I will bring up my media server and I'll tell you.
Well,
my!
There's a movie called 13 Minutes, and that's Trace Adkins, Thor Birch, Peter Facinelli, Anne Heche, Amy Smart, Paz Vega.
Yeah.
And that one's about a tornadic activity.
Yes.
Let's see. And another one. Whoa,
Got
wait
a
a minute.
super sticker, guys.
Yes.
Super sticker.
From Darius Munchausen.
Darius Munchausen.
Thank you, Darius.
And for that, we have this.
For that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
That's it. You go, man.
Yeah, you had the wave. You had the wave. Well, I guess it's late 2010s. Because it started with the wave in 2015, and then they had the quake in 2018, the tunnel in 2019, and the last one was the burning sea in 2021.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of California Firestorm?
Nah, that one I haven't heard of.
Or Christmas Twister?
Yeah, Christmas Twister I've heard of. I don't think I've seen it.
What I think's funny is they were competing at one point for who can destroy the most stuff. Because the summer of '98, when Armageddon came out, you saw the Chrysler Building get destroyed twice that summer. Not once, but twice. It got destroyed in Armageddon, which is my favorite '90s one. And Godzilla came out that summer too, and they destroyed.
No, it didn't.
I thought it was '98. Or is it 99?
No, there is no Godzilla movie at that time frame.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
It's like that.
Well, a pseudo Godzilla movie came out.
There's a giant lizard movie, but it's not a Godzilla.
Right. But what's funny is in the opening scene of Armageddon, they kind of make fun of Godzilla at the beginning of it because the bulldog attacks like an inflatable Godzilla that the guy's selling on the street corner.
Yeah.
The big sumo dude. They get the.
Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear a real disaster?
Go.
Okay.
I'm just watching on IMDb, and yes, Gladiator 2, the protagonist is Lucius.
Wow.
It's a disaster of a movie.
Yeah. Look, I hate to say this, but I'm intrigued enough to want to check it out. That's all I'm going to say about that movie. I'm just intrigued enough to want to check it out.
Is Ridley Scott doing it?
Yes.
Well, then I'm in.
Man,
I'm a fan. So
after he did to Aliens, no.
I'm not talking about Aliens. That's. I mean,
you had in the to go back to disaster movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the 2010s.
Yeah. Yes.
You had another resurgence because you had stuff like The Day After Tomorrow, and you had 2012, and you had those end of the world because 2012 was supposed to be the end of the world.
Yeah,
it was the end of the Mayan calendar.
Just like 2000, everything was supposed to crash on us, right?
Yeah, 1999.
Yeah.
Well, you also had the core. You also had the core in 2003.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. It's an enjoyable movie.
Look,
it's a popcorn movie.
It's a popcorn movie, man. You know, who cares that the science is completely silly? But you know, it was pretty. Look. I'm a Hilary Swank fan. I watch anything with that chick in it, and I thought she was cool in it, man. Yeah.
I'd like to admit something. I really did like Geostorm.
I haven't
seen. Is that a great movie?
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it is not a perfect film in any way, shape, or form, but I like all the actors in it. Yeah. I like having fun with that movie, and guess what? I also like Moonfall. I'm sorry, I did.
I mean, I watched a video review that Moist Critical did on it. You know, Charlie, and he loves that.
Yeah,
film. He said it's so bad it's good. He said,
it was just, I had a lot of fun with that movie. I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
The first two that he mentioned when he started talking about the 2010s, that's our man Roland Emmerich constantly trying to destroy the planet, man. Day After Tomorrow, and 2012. I love those movies, man. Day After Tomorrow, it holds a special place in my heart because I read the book that it's loosely based on. I mean, there was a book that Art Bell wrote with a climatologist called The Coming Global Superstorm, and it's part of what they show in that movie. But of course, in this book that they wrote, it took decades for this to happen, and they squeezed it all into 1 week in that movie, you know. But
wow.
Yeah, look in the credits, you'll see Art Bell's name in there for The Coming Global Superstorm is the name of the, and it talks about how the next ice is going to be just that. Hurricanes going across friggin' parts of land masses and sucking all the friggin' cold air down and freezing everything.
This was Geostorm was really Dean Devlin.
Yeah.
And this is a film that he co-wrote, co-produced, but he directed also. Mm-hmm. And it's Gerard Butler, Jim Sturgis, Abby Cornish, Ed Harris, and Andy Garcia. And I tell you, man, I mean,
Andy Garcia's in it. Wow!
Yes.
Oh man, how the mighty has fallen.
Well, it's not that.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
I mean, Gerard Butler's in it, so they must have spent some money on it. I mean, he's pretty well known actor.
He's an actor that does good disaster movies. I mean, have you seen Greenland?
No, I haven't.
Greenland is a good movie.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. I heard that was an independent flick though, and they did it on a small budget, which means they probably did a lot of it with practical effects and stuff. So it sounds like something to be pretty cool.
It is. It's really good. Yeah. It's a character study movie, but it's a as much as any other disaster movie is, because that's what is a hallmark of a good disaster movie. It's not always about the disaster; it's about the people and their response to disaster.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Preach it.
It's about what I've told my wife. My favorite movies, and Lord of the Rings falls into this category too. It's all about what do you do when it all comes down, when you're actually tested. What do you do? And that's what's great about these movies, because I mean, you go back to the original Poseidon Adventure when Gene Hackman's preacher character has finally had enough. He's tired of people dying, and he just takes matters into his own hands. He knows he's going to die doing this shit, but he ends up saving all of them.
Yeah,
it's just really great stuff. That it's got moments. Every one of these movies has moments like that in it, and that's what I love about them, no doubt.
Well, with Geostorm, what you had again, as I said before, that's Dean Devlin. Well, his former partner, ex-partner, Roland Emmerich, had his own movie, which is what Moonfall was. And so he co-wrote and directed and produced that. And that's the movie starring Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson.
I was fixing to say, that's the reason why I want to see that movie. I love Halle Berry, man.
Yeah,
I think she's awesome.
Gosh, yes. Michael Pena, Charlie Plummer, Kelly Yu. and Donald Sutherland, and that film is wow. I mean, Patrick Wilson is a fun guy to watch. I like him as an actor.
Yeah.
And Kelly Yu and Halle Berry, because Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. That's all you have to say.
Look, I still have to I'm still trying to wrap it around in my head that she and I are the same age, and
yeah,
I'm just
no kidding.
I messed up somewhere.
Well, you don't have millions of dollars. That's what it is.
Oh, is that it?
That's exactly it.
Okay, I can do you one better. Selma Hayek is 4 years older than I am.
Whoa.
What?
Satanic
what?
Pandemonium.
Oof.
Did wait.
The whole room just stopped when he said that. When he said that name.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember what you said after that.
Yeah, you just said
Selma Hayek.
That's it. Yeah. All we can see is From Dusk Till Dawn. That's all we can see right now. That's all we see. Either that or her on a stripper pole in Dogma. I'm just saying. That's all I see.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait.
I've got that video that keeps getting played on Jed's channel.
Jed
too.
loves showing that one. Yeah.
She's 54, I guess.
Is she? I thought she was 57.
No, 54.
Okay, so she's a year older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was gonna say if she were 4 years older than you, that she'd be my age.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, so you were trying to? Oh man, you were trying to kill me.
You woke up, Darius.
Selma Hayek? Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean,
man.
I'm the same age as Halle Berry and Selma Hayek. Where did I go wrong, man?
What the hell?
Where did I go wrong?
That was my bad. I was thinking she was 57 for some reason. But
well, let me corroborate that because I've brain fart a lot. So
yeah, Tim's surprised you're 57.
Really?
That's because black don't crack.
Well, thank you very much, but man, look. I will say this. The gentleman who is got the Kickstarter that we informed you about is about my age. Mm-hmm. He looks way younger than I do, so obviously I've done something wrong. I have done something real wrong.
You're not doing bad, man. You're not doing bad.
I am just.
Gentlemen, I was absolutely wrong, and John was absolutely right.
She is 57.
And have you seen the video of her on her birthday?
Yes, we have.
Yep, many times.
I'm telling you, Jed shows that every week on his show. He does. He's in love with that.
I'm just, what did I do so wrong? Where did I go wrong in my life?
Dude, it's not that. They have the money to take care of themselves the way you should.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh.
That, and they have really good genetics.
This is true. Yeah. Genetics is a big part of it, no doubt.
Oh, she just looks too good.
Because from what I hear about Holly, she is absolutely full-blown nuts. She is crazy, from what I understand. But, but that's okay.
And,
I mean,
that's all right.
We've all been there. My second wife, I was married to her for 9 months. She looked just like Jennifer Love Hewitt, but she was crazy. She came with
crazy can be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Until it's not.
Yeah, until it's not. Yeah, but I'm sitting here looking at these movies that we're coming close to the end here. Airplane was a parody that kind of killed it in 1980, but I'm just sitting there thinking of another parody that came out not too long ago, and it was actually, I think it was nominated for Best Picture. Don't Look Up.
Yeah,
that was another parody that I don't know if you can call it a parody though.
No, it's a comedy.
That could actually happen.
Yeah,
I could see them.
What would happen? That's exactly what the government wouldn't tell anybody that was. They wouldn't tell anybody that we're about to get smacked by a giant asteroid.
Right?
They wouldn't want the panic.
Yeah, and that one had an all-star cast to it. J-Law was in it, and DiCaprio, and oh my God, man, that movie cracked me up when I watched it. I had heard all this stuff about it, and I watched the trailer, and I'm like, "What in the hell is this?" I thought, but yeah, exactly. Jim Watari says it was a docudrama. Yeah, pretty much. I could see him turning it into something political, telling people don't look up. If you look up, you're leaning the wrong way, and people are going to notice, right? Using peer pressure to get you to not pay attention while we're getting wrecked. That's ridiculous.
I slept on that movie.
Yeah,
it went over. I missed that it was a disaster movie because I thought, oh great, it's another rom-com.
Yeah.
You got J-Law and DiCaprio. It's
right. That's what you think looking at the preview, but it's actually a disaster movie.
And the trailer didn't portray it as a disaster movie. It portrayed it as a rom-com.
Yeah, as a comedy.
And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to watch that. And then
I'd like to thank Mrs. A. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I am a man of a certain age, and I have grandkids.
Don't worry, buddy. I got you by a year. You're fine. Worry not. And I think Brian's got you by 3. That 70s rock fan just turned 60 last year, I think, or this year. I think.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, there's a few of us out there that got a few more days than you do, buddy. You're all right.
I know, but I gotta get better. I need to do something about this. I need to do something about this.
I hear you. But yeah, man, that movie right there cracked me up. Not, and it's not an out and out comedy like Airplane was. I mean, you knew what Airplane was. But like you said, the trailers portrayed it like it was a goofball rom-com or something like that.
Yeah.
And you actually sit down and watch it, and you're like, oh, my God, this could actually happen. This is crazy,
Now, I would like to qualify this. I may say, oh, my God, that movie is bad. But please, by any means, I am not criticizing your liking of the movie. I have no moral to do that because of the movie that I'm going to bring into the ring. It started, I'm sure they tried so hard to make a serious movie, but it was so the premise was so lame that it spawned a series of spoof movies, and it is Sharknado.
Oh my God, Sharknado! Oh my God, too funny.
You watch the first movie and you can see they tried to make a serious movie.
I have never watched a single one of those.
Oh, I
hear they're just sick, twisted. I hear they're just sick, twisted.
Well, after
things that people just enjoy because of the craziness in them. Yeah.
After the third one, it kind of goes downhill, but. The first 3 are actually fairly decent for a low-level asylum level type movie.
Right. Yeah, when I saw the first trailer for one of those, I instantly thought of the old trauma movies. That's what I thought of right away.
Yeah.
I think at certain point they said, let's do whatever. Just let's have fun.
Let's have fun and just throw sharks at people, man. Damn, that's crazy.
And that started the whole let's mix shark with something else thing that was on site. Seems like every week there was a shark something versus Robo Shark versus Dino Baby or something.
Well, I think it has everything to do with the popularity of Shark Week on Discovery.
Yeah.
I think it has everything to do with that. People look forward to that all year round. Shark Week on Discovery. It's
Thank
crazy.
You, Darius. And Jim, you're 64. Dude. Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. They're all here, man. Yeah.
Can we have a copy of your diet, Jim, please?
Right?
Yeah, because I'm obviously not doing something right.
Were you at the con where that girl had the Sharknado costume?
Was I?
Yeah, were you there? Were you at that one? You remember seeing that?
Describe it
Sharknado
to me.
versus RoboCop. Great, awesome.
It was.
I don't
no,
remember.
She was walking around in a big swirling. It was like made with cotton batting and stuff, and she had all the sharks on it. And she had the blinking lights inside to represent lightning. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. So when she walked, it actually spun it. The motion of her walking probably did it.
No. What it was
spin.
was
It
that
was
it looked like cotton for a lot of the cloud stuff, and she had the sharks in there. And then she had these lights that would blink on and off underneath all of that made it seem like lightning underneath it. And it was well done. I had to give her a lot of credit. It's just like, okay.
It's funny.
Wow.
You mentioned a cosplay. That's something you might think about doing in the future. Keith, is favorite cosplayers or favorite cosplays, because I look at a lot of that stuff. I have a few cosplayers signed ones on my wall. I'm a big fan. Dig them.
I tell everybody, and I would tell anybody, wanting to do this, because I was hoping that G4 would eventually do it when they started doing their whole coverage from San Diego many years ago. But I was hoping that somebody would take cameras and stuff and just go to Dragon Con and cover that, because that is the Super Bowl of cosplay.
Yeah.
People, look, their walk-around costumes would win best costumes at a lot of
the smaller cons. Yeah, no doubt.
Yes.
And there are Pinterest board about Sharknado costumes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. People are really into this.
Oh yeah. Sharknado is
made one.
It definitely tapped into something that people are into, man. First
Except
of all, sharks. They're all into sharks, and disaster movies, right? So you slam the two together, it's like slamming a monster movie and a disaster movie together.
Well, I was going to build one at one point, but I just decided it wasn't worth the effort, because I had one of those battery-powered turntables that for like a display.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was going to mount it on a helmet with a big crossbar and build this big chicken wire tornado to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And it would spin around me as I walked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That would be a heavy headdress right there, buddy. You better reinforce that on your neck or something. But I can definitely get the appeal of it. I've never watched one. It's kind of like I've never watched The Expendables.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure there's people that enjoy that, but I mean, that's testosterone overload to me. I like these guys individually in their own movies, but all of them together, nah.
Well,
they don't have near enough hot chicks to balance it out for me. So.
Yeah, we're basically at the end of the show. So to wrap up the whole disaster thing, disaster movies are an art form that has been around for a while, and really deserves better credit than it gets, because it's not just about the disaster, like I said. And that's why a lot of disaster movies have had nominations for best actor, or best supporting actor, or best actress, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even to go so far as best picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's because it's, like I said, it's about the character. It's not about the disaster. The disaster.
It's about what does the person do when it all comes down?
Yep.
What is their reaction? Are they going to be a coward? Are they going to be fight or flight? You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
And speaking of that thing in particular, I came too late. I don't know if you talk about this, but in my opinion, I think War is the War, the original one, that is a disaster movie.
Yep.
Because you see, it's more centered in the reaction of the population, the people that turn to good, the people that turn badly. For me, that is the best aspect of that movie.
Well, the whole lore of if you know the whole lore behind War of the Worlds, definitely, because when it was the first radio broadcast that was done, scared the shit out of the entire country. There was people there were some suicides over that.
Yeah.
You know, and even though they told them at the beginning of the broadcast it was a radio play, they didn't really continue to tell people that during the show, and they should have. I think they learned from that, because the power of the media back then, dude, people hung on that radio. You know, that's where they got the news. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, so it's we did talk about it, and I have rules that of what a disaster movie actually is. And it's got to include some sort of destruction, whether that be massive loss of life, such as like a pandemic movie, or massive loss of property, like a natural disaster movie. So that includes
Twister.
That fits.
Twister's a disaster movie. Yep. Twister is definitely, because Twister was part of the resurgence in the 90s of disaster movies.
You can't tell me that ID4, Independence Day, isn't a disaster movie. It is. I mean,
it may be an alien invasion movie.
Mm-hmm.
It may have another genre attached to it. But as long as something as long as it follows the disaster movie rules, it's a disaster movie.
And it's not, how do I say this? It's random death and destruction. It's not targeted. It can be targeted too. It can be a terrorist attack. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. World Trade Center's a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Flight 93 is. Yeah. I'd say that. Yeah. I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah,
you're right about that, Tim. Holy jeez.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. Well,
it looked pretty, but it was a disaster.
We're talking about actual portrayals of disasters, not the disaster that was the making of the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually being released. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God, Gremlins. There you go. People die in that one. A whole lot of property gets destroyed.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Okay. Technically, you could say that's a disaster movie. And we all know technically right is the best kind of right. So
Gremlins 2 is a disaster movie.
Nothing like pissing off an expert. Oh my!
Oh, we love you, John.
He destroys half of New York, man.
Yeah.
He only destroyed a section of the subway.
Mm-hmm.
Not the city.
Depends on which movie you're talking about. You're talking about
1970,
or you're talking about the 77.
Yeah, the 1933. The 1933 isn't really a disaster movie because nothing really gets destroyed.
Yeah,
he climbs up on a building and falls off. So I mean,
the only thing that's destroyed is the street underneath him.
Yeah. So I mean, that doesn't really, and he doesn't really kill thousands of people.
No.
So, unlike Godzilla, King Kong isn't. I don't consider King Kong a disaster movie. Now, 1977's.
No,
77 or 78.
I think it's 78.
78.
Yeah.
He only destroyed a section of the subway.
That's right. Yeah. You're right.
Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
So basically, King Kong's a cream puff, and he doesn't really destroy anything.
My brother heard you say that, he would light you up, dude. He and I have this argument all the time because I'm a Godzilla guy and he's a Kong dude, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh no, that's different. The Godzilla versus Kong. Yeah, that's a disaster movie. Look how much gets destroyed.
Yeah, everything gets destroyed. Was it 76, Tim?
Was it 76?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? I hate to do this to you, but in a roundabout sort of way, even the Blues Brothers is a disaster.
Well, at the time, it was the most expensive movie ever made because of the number of cop cars they destroyed.
Yeah.
They bought an entire mall. That scene where they destroy the mall, they bought that mall and every business in it to destroy it. It was,
Yep.
And there's a scene that they decided not to film that was actually in the novelization, the first practice of the band, where they took over a house that was being renovated and destroyed the entire house while practicing.
That's crazy, man. Oh, you want? I mean, look at this, man. That is cool. Hang on, let me share this with you. This is the '76 poster.
Oh, I
This
was going
is
to
the
say Selma
76
Hayek.
No.
No,
This
it's
is
just
the
the Godzilla on
'76
top of the Trade Center.
of Kong. Check that out real quick.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
standing on the Twin Towers, 1 foot on each one. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Which
There was a little liberties taken with the poster.
Yeah, he's not that big.
Right?
Kong's not that big.
No, he's not.
Well, that's what
there's
she
a lot more distance between those two towers than
Yeah.
people think.
Yep.
True.
They're using jets.
Right. Jessica Lange and Charles Grodin in that movie too.
Yep.
Yeah, good actors.
Oh, I saw that in the movie, and I remember that was the first movie I could read the subtitles by myself.
Yeah.
I'm a model 73.
Mhm.
Just so you know.
Mhm.
The only time I've ever been to New York, I went to the Trade Centers, and I went to the Empire State Building, and I went to Liberty, Statue of Liberty, and that's the only places I wanted to go. I take that back. I did go to FAO Schwartz, but you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't go to New York without going to FAO Schwartz. Yeah. But,
Oh, wait. You at least visited the Marvel offices, didn't you?
no, I didn't. Sadly, I didn't think about it at the time.
Central Park.
Did you at least visit
I
the
went
DC
by Central
offices?
Park.
Oh.
I am the son of a Bostonian, and I have been told by my wife that eventually I'm going to have to take her to New York so she can eat in Bobby Flay's restaurant. So I
You're
guess
not
I'm going to
gonna
have to
enjoy
go
that.
there one day, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Well,
Remind me to send you a Yankees hat for your trip.
Yeah,
so-
do that and
You
watch me burn it live on YouTube. Yeah.
So you can use it as cover. Yeah.
Oh my.
that's harsh.
No, I love the people in New York and everything. It's just the sports rivalry between them and
Oh, yeah.
Boston is epic.
It's real.
It is a real thing, no doubt. Yep.
Oh man, the only thing to my English is abandoning me. To feel bad for is there is no more Toys R Us.
Toys
That
R Us.
is- yeah,
Oh.
Yeah, did they have a big store in New York?
yeah, the
Yeah.
biggest one.
Toys R Us, I missed completely, man. That was
Yeah.
a cool freaking store. It really was. I bought one of the best cosplays I personally did because we used to do it when I worked in the club business. We did it every Halloween. I've dressed up as that guy, Spider-Man, and you know, got up on the bar and made drinks like I was, squatting on the bar like I was Spider-Man. But I was like a 125-pound guy back then. I looked the part. But one of the best ones I ever did, I just bought a kit in KB Toys to put the light in my eye, and it actually had the makeup for the ripped skin for the Terminator, and it had a battery that you put on your waist, and the light, and it lit up, and it was one of the best cosplays I ever did, and it was from a kit I bought at Toys R Us.
Yeah,
it's freaking crazy.
Wow.
Yep.
I've bought a lot of stuff at Toys R Us over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely a Toys R Us kid. Every time I went to the city, I always went to Toys R Us. Usually multiple Toys R Us.
Mm-hmm. Well, for my final word on disaster movies, the reason why I love them is exactly the same reason why you dig them, John. It's how does the character react when it all comes down? Is it going to be fight or flight? And a lot of people say that these movies have a lot in common with horror movies, but the big difference between the two is this is something that people cannot avoid. In a horror movie, you could leave town and you'd be okay, right? That these movies, there's no way to get away from it. You're going to have to do something. And I just think they're great. I think they're awesome. My favorite moment in any one of these is, of course, the Towering Inferno, when Dabney Coleman, who has a cameo as one of the main firemen in that movie, is explaining, laying everything out to Steve McQueen, and Steve asks, "Well, how are you going to get me down?" And he just looks at him like, and he realizes they're not getting me down. You know, I'm going to have to stay up there with him. And he goes, "Oh shit." That's just one of the greatest movies in any disaster movie ever. Yeah, I love them. I will continue to watch them. I dig them. There's a couple that came out in the last few years. We talked about them. Moonfall, I still haven't seen yet. I want to see that one. And I do want to see Geostorm. I haven't seen that one yet.
Greenland.
I'm glad you guys mentioned them so I could get them on my playlist. So.
And add Greenland too.
Yeah, Greenland. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there you go. That's my 2 cents about disaster movies, man. I love them.
This has been a good show. I'm glad we decided to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Because, like I said, that's one of my favorite genres is disaster movies. So I've seen most of them. I haven't seen all of them, but I'm working on that.
Dude, there's been so many jokes made about that over the years. I mean, God, isn't there a Geico commercial where they have the creepy shit in the attic, and the African American guy says,
"Nope, I'm out."
Nope,
yeah.
Nope. He just leaves, right? So
Yeah.
Enjoy your new home. And he's like, "Nope," and walks out. There was a comedian back in the day. Who was it? Oh, it was Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
his first one he did. Isn't this beautiful? This house just looks great. And you hear this voice go, "Get out." Too bad we can't stay, baby.
Stay, baby.
Yeah, that's a fact, no doubt.
Or what's that commercial with the car commercial where there's the running car and it's like, let's go.
Oh my God, that is so fantastic. And what's really funny, I didn't realize that because they show it every Halloween. You guys will see it.
Yeah.
It's a Geico commercial. Geico makes the best freaking commercials. But yeah, they hide behind the friggin' in the barn behind the chainsaws and shit, right? All the weapons and
the
stuff.
chainsaw killer's just looking at him like.
But what's funny is the dumb blonde is the one that says, "Why don't we just get in the running car?" The dumb blonde's the one that does it. The one that makes sense. It's hilarious. Love that commercial. That's great.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
But anyway, that's so. So Keith, what's your 2 cents about disaster movies?
It's definitely something that really just gets the heart pumping, and it's good to see. On the one hand, it's good to see something where, it gives the potential of having really good, solid stories with as many different types of people within that film, and yet it be an opportunity. The best ones give every character an opportunity to shine during the course of the movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other films don't do that, but this one does. So, I'll just give it.
Dead air.
Did we lose you?
Oh,
Did we lose you?
I think it was my browser that.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
There we go. Look, love it. It's great. Love it. The disaster movie is definitely a part of me growing up. Just love the whole thing. So there you go.
Yep. All right, and Martine.
Well, oh man, this has been an awesome experience, and because I like them, but I'm like thinking I should watch more disaster movies.
Yes, you should. You should always watch more disaster movies.
I have a big collection of horror movies, and I have a considerable collection of disaster movies, but I haven't seen them in years, so I have to rewatch them. Yeah, thank you for this show, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Joe?
I originally threw the idea out just because I like disaster movies. I went, let's do something about disaster movies.
That's how he got me on today. He told me what was up. I said, "Send me an invite. I'll be there in 2 seconds." Love it. Love it. Well, usually, Keith, you're talking about stuff that I really have no knowledge of, and I love watching you because you are a friggin' encyclopedia of pop culture, and
yep.
But this one I know about. This one I.
Hey,
I know
That's the
everything.
reason why I was willing to sit back and listen to you guys, because it's good to have other people that can be enthusiastic and really get into what they're talking about, which is really what I'm all about, trying to be as enthusiastic and to have those kinds of conversations. Because again, as John will attest, that's the exact way that I am when I'm having conversations at different conventions. It's enthused people talking.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
having
why
fun.
That's really what this channel was.
Go ahead.
That's really what this channel was built on, was that whole concept of talking about pop culture. And it's like, it came out of how we talk at conventions.
That's how fans talk.
Yep.
They get excited about stuff, man. And it's awesome.
It's always the best.
Yes.
Oh, and one more thing. Selma Hayek.
Go ahead. Say it again. What?
Selma Hayek.
Little drool coming down here.
Or how about this one? How about Jane Kennedy?
Ooh.
Hang on. No, I'm still on Selma Hayek, so hang on.
Oh, you don't put the pause on Jane Kennedy.
Put your avatar up already, man. Come on now.
All right. We can go on now.
Jane Kennedy. Google that name.
Jacqueline Bisset. Selma Hayek.
Jane
Halle
Kennedy
Berry.
was in. She was in the first Wonder Woman movie. And she. Oh my goodness. Oh, that dress. Oh, I wasn't enough for that dress.
Well, I would like some more details, because there are like a gazillion Jane Kennedys in Internet Movie Database.
Only one Jane Kennedy was a major star in the 1970s, and she.
Give me a movie, man. Give me a movie.
She was married to Leon Isaac Kennedy, and if you Jayne Kennedy. Trust me, when you see her, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, see Tim. Yeah, man. Yeah, Jane Kennedy. Oh gosh, I think she was like my first crush, and I oh my god.
Well, unfortunately, this is devolved away from disaster movies. So
no!
We should probably wrap it up. So, because we are almost 20 minutes over.
Oh no!
Well, actually, technically, we're on 12 minutes because we started a little late because of power issues. Because I had no electricity for for a while this morning, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it. So.
This show is almost a disaster show.
Yeah, it was almost a disaster.
It was almost a disaster to start with.
Look, what can I say? I mean, there's a lot to be said, and again, everyone here that's listening, you're gonna get good, honest opinion from everybody on this show. A little bit excitable, especially when it comes to women like Jane Kennedy, and. Look, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and having fun and just oh wow, yeah.
Be sure to tune in tomorrow at the same time because I'm doing Baldur's Gate tomorrow by request.
Yes.
So we'll be trying to save the Shadow Cursed Lands. So this time, because I have yet to do that any of my playthroughs, because I keep missing the guy I'm supposed to talk to.
Oops.
But I know where he is now, and unlike Starfield, where I get lost, I know where he is. So, and I know how to get there.
Wow.
They were goblins.
Let me at least put in a word for next week's show.
Yep.
Tell your friends and family, have everybody show up, because we are going to break it down for your top 20 people who have pretty much tried to kill fandom, and some of them have at least killed certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
We're breaking it down because there's at least 20 people that we've come up with. 20.
Wow, 20 of them.
Yep.
You mean Ryan Johnson's not alone? Wow.
No,
That's
Ruin
amazing.
He's
Johnson's
far
not alone.
from it. Roundhead Boy is far from being the only one.
Yeah, and Ruin Johnson is really kind of low on the list.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Martine.
Yeah.
She was Miss Ohio in 1970. Jane Kennedy.
Oh.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to find her, there are tons of Jane Kennedys, but you got to spell it Jayne.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not your typical way to spell Jane.
Oh, just like Jane.
Yeah,
the
like Jane from
Mhm.
Firefly.
Yeah, the man they call Jane.
She did an episode of The $6 Million Man, The Rockford Files, The New Adventures of Wonder Woman. She was was a pre-game show reporter for the NFL Today. She was one of the first women
when it was on CBS, when they covered the NFC back in the day. And
wasn't she the first female on screen?
She might have
that
been.
I don't know.
She might have
that
been
I don't
the
know.
first female sportscaster. She might have been for the NFL anyway.
Yeah,
yeah.
She's the earliest woman commentator I remember. Yep.
So
or Jane Mansfield. Yeah, that's
just
one.
like
Jane
you spelled
Mansfield.
James Mansfield. Yeah, it's not.
There's another one.
Spell it.
Yeah.
Way before my time, but
Oh my.
anyway, we should probably go.
Okay. It's quickly turning into a male gaze show. So yeah, let's get out of here.
What? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
Well,
okay. Well, then
I've got stuff to write for school, so I should probably get cracking on that soon. So
okay. Well, look.
To get ready for so.
Thanks to everyone that tuned in today. Thanks to those of you out there who are watching us on replay. Just remember to like, share, subscribe, and if you want to just drop us a line and give your own thoughts about your own favorite disaster movies or what you thought of any of the nice looking ladies we've talked about today, Jane Kennedy, then go ahead and we'll sound high. Anyway, so for Joe and John and Martine, I've been Keith, and hopefully all the rest of you have a better day.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Ma, I'm doing a show. Ma, I'm doing a